This is a session for the family of Artemis, where, of course, all our friends of ITEA are welcome. I understand that, to be honest, we form one large family and one large social network. So, changing a little bit the program that I was proposed to follow, I would like to ask Irene Lopez de Vallejo to join me because she will work today. I'm not going to work a lot today, but she will have to do a lot. So Irene, please come. Irene is ICT Partnership Director at IK4 Technica and is also a member of the Presidium of the ARTEMIS Industry Association. So Irene, I count on you to manage the rest of the session. Just before that, let's give a quick introduction. Next slide. Well, Artemis up to now, the last 4 years. We have today 44 projects from these 4 goals, 2008 to 2011. And almost, because one is finishing end of the year, or more accurately in January, almost all projects from the first goal are completed. And what we observe there is that the European industry at large, including academics and SMEs, of course, besides the large enterprises, they had a preference. They showed a preference for 2 sub-programs, ASP 1 and 5. 1 is on safety critical systems, and 5 is on computing architecture, and more precisely on multi-core architecture. Now, if we look back to these 44 projects and their content, their results, their activities, their promised results for those that are not finished, we can identify 2 phases. The first phase is what I call the projects phase. When we started in 2008, we offered 8 sub-programs. We identified indeed a preference for sub-program 1 and 5, but actually there was no structure. There was no strategy. It was an observation of what the industry at large would propose. So this is a kind of pioneering approach. Now, after 3, 4 years, when you look at the portfolio of projects, then we can identify clusters of projects. We can identify projects working on equivalent topics. We can identify projects capitalizing on the results of previous projects. And so this phase 2 is the cluster of projects phase. And when you analyze that, well, it's fair to say that this is more a strategic approach. Next slide. Now, Artemis now, this year, next week, well, the call 2012, which was a 1-step call, directly with full project proposals, the evaluation is finished. With all my experts, we have produced a list which is ordered, not ranked, and that list has been presented to the Public Authorities Board. And next week, Wednesday, November 7th, the PAB will decide what to do with this ordered list. To make a ranked list, I will propose an analysis of what is possible to fund and not to fund with the existing commitments of the member states and the requirements in the various projects. And at the end, I will ask a mandate to negotiate for a list of projects, and I will ask to have a reserve list of some other projects so that if there is remaining money in the member states and if it makes sense, and if we can accommodate that with some parts of projects of that list, on that list, we will complete the list with one or two other projects. That's the way it works. So, the big change this year has been the introduction of these AIPPs, Application Innovation Pilot Projects. That process has been not controlled, but coached over the months. Because it's a new concept, we have organized some brokerage events. We have identified a few candidates, and with a kind of convergence process, at the end, we had in the submission phase 2 proposals. These 2 proposals are on this ordered list. I'm not going to tell you where on that list, but next week we will see, and hopefully they have a chance to be funded. We will see. I remind you that the PAB and the members of the PAB have the right to modify the ordered list in a ranked list, taking into account national priorities. But they need to find a majority, of course, in the PAB to accept the changes. So that will be done next week. So it's very, very short term. Okay. So this is, with these AIPPs, what I call the phase 3. It's the phase of pilots. This is new. We have seen that this has generated positive reactions from the member states. The level of commitments for funding commitments from the member states has never been so high as this year. So we were on a negative trend, decreasing because of the crisis, decreasing the commitments year after year. This has been reversed, and this has been reversed mainly or exclusively because of this introduction of AIPPs. So it's essential that these AIPPs become a success. And of course, it will be this phase 3 of Artemis 1 will be or could be an important element for the decisions and the discussions for the future. Next slide. So indeed, there is a future. So we'll have this call with AIPPs, and there is only one call left next year, 2013. By the way, the joint undertaking has been created and is supposed to finish end of 2017. I'm almost convinced that that will have to be extended because of the reaction time of the participants to fill in their cost claim, because of the reaction time of the public authorities to do the final payments. So observing what is happening today, I think that 2017 will be extended probably, but anyhow, most probably the present JU will be reintegrated in the future JU. So we will see. Today, there are many meetings by many groups, many types of stakeholders to discuss about scenarios for the future. Nobody knows what will happen. It's important to provide your inputs or inputs for the future to say what we want. We will see what comes out of that process. And hopefully, for beginning of 2014, a new JU will be set up. So today, it's my conviction, I'm convinced, I'm 100% convinced that there will be something called Artemis 2. It will not be called Artemis 2, I can tell you, but we will have another joint undertaking to cover the needs of our industry. Next slide. Now, today, the session of today. Well, what we wanted to present you is not a presentation of projects as we did the previous years, but to have a discussion. Because from a discussion between people, you can exchange more information, and it's more lively and more natural. Now, as I said previously, in our program, we had many projects focused on ASP1, ASP5, safety critical systems, computing architecture. But we thought that it would be interesting today to focus on two topics which we addressed less in the past in public events. One is manufacturing automation, and the other one is healthcare. So there will be a debate, some introductions, and at this stage, I want to call the 4 people who are going to participate in the debate. Can you join us on stage, please?